Good evening, sir. Good evening to everybody else. As sir said, I'm Veena. I'm this year All India rank 57, and I've written this exam three times, and I have cracked it three times. And I was All India rank 299, and I was in Railway Traffic Service. Last year, All India rank 124. Right now, I'm in Indian Police Service, and this year, I'm expecting my first preference for Foreign Service. So I said this because I want to tell you that I have written ethics paper three times, and I have seen my marks improve from I had 104 in my first attempt to 140 something in my second attempt and 119 in my third attempt. So I will like to tell you that what I did in my first, second, third attempt. Then I'll tell you that what you should know before writing the answer. And I will tell you how I approach the paper and how I approach the section A and section B. So in my first attempt, I had not prepared very well for ethics. I had simply gone and given it after just reading lexicon and preparing my examples and just giving mains test series. But from my second attempt, I I improved my preparation a little better. And I had, along with lexicon, I'd gone through TJ Sir's notes. I had written answer writing, and I had gone through the toppers' answer sheets before attempting the question papers. And in my third attempt also, I did what I had done in my second attempt. So before you write answers, there are some things you should know in ethics. See, ethics is not like every other paper, if you have noticed, because in GS1, GS2, or GS3, if you know your material, if you know your syllabus, if you read the current affairs, if you know your basic things, it becomes quite easy to, when you see a question, most of the questions become simple. But ethics is like, no matter how much you study, the amount of thinking that you have to do while writing the paper is a little bit more. The amount of freedom that you have, or the amount of innovation that you read before writing the paper, while writing the paper, is a bit more than the other GS papers or even your optional subject. So what you know, need to do before writing is that, obviously this is not 100% the only way. There are many ways. So I'm just saying what I had done. So you should know the syllabus very well. Okay. Ethics syllabus is smaller than GS1, 2, or 3. And so GS4 syllabus, each and every word in the syllabus, you should know a definition for it. Doesn't matter where, don't matter, doesn't matter where you get it from. You get it from lexicon, you get it from some notes. You should know definition of each and every word. You should have example pertaining to each and every word. See, this is something basic that you should know before you attempt your ethics paper, right? And then you should also check out some of the answer sheets of the toppers. Okay, because ethics is not simply knowing these things. You should know that how they have applied these things in their paper, right? So once you read some toppers answer sheets, you will understand that how they have approached each and every question, right? Because that's a very important part. Now, the next thing is when you get ethics paper. So ethics, unlike the other papers, is divided into two sections. That is section A and section B. And time is same as the other papers. That is 3 hours. So since there are section A and section B, you can actually make a choice as to which section you want to attempt first, and you can actually divide your time, as in how much time you want to give to section A and how much time you want to give to section B, right? So what I used to do was I used to do section A first, and I used to give it 1.5 hours, and I used to do section B, that is a section for case studies, second, and I used to give it equally 1.5 hours. Okay, I do section A first because I think that in section A the questions are much more, you need a little more thinking process. So when you're writing the paper initially, you have, your mind is much more fresh and you are able to think more. For me, maybe for you, second half is better that way. And second B, I write later because I find that case study is a bit more mechanical. And if there is a paucity of time, and if you have to finish the paper fast, it's much more easier to, quickly finish the case studies rather than to, write the section A answers. Okay. So, um, So what I will do now is I'll tell you how I approach section A question. Then I'll show you how I have answered two of my section A answers. Then I'll show you some one case study that I have attempted. Then after that, if you have any doubts, you can ask me. So the section A, when I see a question, I read it 2 to 3 times. This is the advice that I'll give you for all your papers, because sometimes we read the question and we get very excited just by reading the one single word. Maybe it will be something about, you just read one word about Gandhiji in the question, and you might get very excited that you have studied Gandhiji properly, and you might end up writing very random things, or you might misunderstand the question and not answer it precisely. So it is advised that you read each and every question at least 2 to 3 times. Once you read a question 2 to 3 times, you will understand it way better, right? So once you read the question 2 to 3 times, what I have done is that I used to underline which is the core part of the question. First is, what is the direction? What is the question asking you? Is it critically comment, analyze? That I'll underline. Second thing I will do is I underline whichever part of the question I feel I have to tackle in the answer. And I underline it because you are writing for so long, you're seeing many questions. So you tend to maybe misplace one or two things that and you might forget to address it in your answer, or you might address it poorly in your answer. So I underline it and make it sure that I have addressed each and every part, so that when the examiner or whosoever is reading my paper, they get a vision that I have tackled each and every part of the question paper. Okay, so I'll show you one answer of mine, and answer pattern is generally same as the other paper. You can give a small introduction, then you give the body, and then you give the conclusion. Okay, so I hope everyone can see this. So you can see that this is a very straightforward question. If you notice, it says leaders always have to make tough decisions that people will question and disagree. Okay, this is the first sentence. Then there is one more sentence. Very few, if any, of those decisions have outcomes that satisfy everyone. So this is one part of the question, right? Then there is another part. As an aspiring civil servant, how will you deal with such situations? So I read this question through 2 3 times. So when I read this 2 3 times, I understand, like, what is the demand of the question, what exact part I have to answer, and as you can see, I have underlined what I want to answer in this question. There is the leaders. It's a question based on leadership. Then there is a thing about leaders have to make tough decisions, and then the third thing about leaders is that these decisions and the outcomes does not satisfy everybody. So the first part of the question should answer these three things: leaders, and how they are making the tough decisions, and how it is not satisfying everybody. So once you deconstruct the question like this, it becomes very simple, right? When you read it also, you understand, okay, this was what the question had asked, right? And then the last part, this part is quite simple. It's about, as an aspiring civil servant, how will you deal with such situation? Okay, so it's a 10 marker question, 150 words, 2 pages you get in UPSC. And UPSC paper is quite small, so do not waste your time in writing anything flowery or anything like that, because when you are writing the content of the paper itself, there is a danger of your answer space itself, ending, right? So I have written here a very simple introduction. See, leaders are meant to inspire, motivate, and take crucial decisions, right? So that is a very simple introduction that you can give. You guys can have better introductions regarding leadership, whatever it is, because the questions on leadership are very common. So you should have 2 3 words regarding leadership that you can just write. Don't waste too much space. Just 1 or 2 line would suffice, because this is not a questions regarding leadership, right? Not a thing completely focused on leadership. It is other parts which are more important. Then These small things actually make a lot of difference, because if you don't read this properly, you might end up writing a lot about leadership. Then there are two parts that here I have written it in three parts. You can see decisions are tough, people will question and disagree, and outcomes that does not satisfy everyone. I have taken very simply these three headings and I have written it down. So what I would do that you can follow the same thing. Decisions are tough. So you can just explain here like why decisions are tough. Okay, I have just given an example. Uh, because at that time when you only thought this much, but yesterday I was looking through the paper. So I think when you are explaining decisions are tough, just explain why the leaders have to take tough decisions. It's because they are in stressful situations. Decisions impact large number of people. There is paucity of time, and there are a lot of variables. And give an example. When you are explaining anything in ethics, always give example, like declaring war against other country Indira Gandhi did in 1971. So this is a tough decision. Now the second part is these decisions, people, not everyone is satisfied when people will question and disagree. Okay, then explain this also, like why people disagree, like why is it happening. Okay, so you can give a small explanation. People will disagree because everyone has different ideologies, leaders have a lot of followers amongst them, and many issues are sensitive. And then you give these two examples, like Gandhiji disappointed his followers when he withdrew non-cooperation. Recently, we withdrew from RCP, which was again not accepted, did not satisfy many people, right? So when you this write this much, your first part of the question will be tackled completely, right? You can understand that you have understood the first part of the question. Now, the second part of the question is a very simple question. As an aspiring civil servant, how will you deal with such situations? So, this is something you have already studied, because you study something about civil servant, and you know, as a civil servant, you have to deal with a number of stakeholders, right? And there are certain things that you deal as a civil servant, that is the constitution, the rule of law, your colleagues, and certain property, your own conscience, right? So these things you just remember and you just can write it, yet you will follow your principles. Like, can give example, you might be idolizing somebody. Always a little bit of personal touch in ethics is good, because your ethics and your ideals are not same as everybody else. Because somebody will be writing Gandhiji, maybe you like Abdul Kalam, or you like Nelson Mandela style of leadership, right? So if you put that in, when somebody is reading your answer, that they can see, okay, this person believes in these things, not a very mechanical answer, right? So I've written, I'll follow Gandhiji's principle, I will follow rule of law, supremacy of constitution, discuss with my subordinates, communication, accountability. These are very simple things. Accountability and all are directly taken from the syllabus, right? So this way you can answer any question, right? And in the end, I have given a small conclusion, which is a conclusion I have written, is that it is true, civil servants have to take tough decisions, and our decision should be such that it is for the welfare of the country and of the people and progress of the country. Something like this you can write, right? So this sort of concludes your answer. So I hope you get my thing. What I'm saying is that how to deconstruct the answer and how to answer each part of it, and give a starting, that is an intro, tackle the question, explain whatever they have asked, and then give example, and then conclude. So conclusion can be either three type of conclusions, or so is that one, you can simply just write, like this is a normal conclusion, right? Second, you can write what you can do, how you can improve, or how the government can improve this thing, maybe some scheme, maybe some recommendation from ARC or anything like that. And the third is you can always give a caution, right? So the one more I will show you guys, so that it maybe it'll become a bit more clear. So this is a quote. Quote is another very important thing that comes in section A. So and it can be a little tough to understand in the beginning. So I'll show you how I used to tackle the quote-based questions. So one thing is that before every quote-based question, there will be one huge sentence, that what you have to do with the quote-based questions. Read that thing very carefully, because it won't just be like explain this quote what it means to you. Like in this question, if you see, it says there are two quotes given by moral thinkers, philosophers. For each quote, bring out what it means to you. Okay, that part is fine. That even if you had not read it, you will answer that only. But the second part of the question says that in the present context. So that is a part that if you don't read the question, you will miss out. And when you answer, that answer will not have a, what you say, a satisfactory. It won't hit the precise thing that has been asked answered in the question. It will be a very nice answer to read, but it will not be what has been asked in the question, right? So you will miss out your marks. 1, 2 marks can make a huge difference in this exam, right? So then you see the question, the quote. There is one thing stronger than all of the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. See, uh, so first thing in any quote that you have to do is that you have to explain what that quote means, right? Before you tackle the rest of the question, explain what the quote means. Otherwise, even whatever the first part of this thing is, explain it, like anywhere you have a code-based questions, even in your essay you are getting quotes, you should explain what you have understood from that quote, right? So then you have this, there is one thing stronger than all the armies in the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. So first I explain why armies are very strong. They have, they have a lot of physical strength, and why idea is more important, it's about mental strength. And uh, uh, and ideas don't die. Why? Because physically you can harm everyone, you can kill, you can torture, but an idea will live on in our collective conscience, right? And people will, keep taking it forward. An idea is not just in one person, it can go on forward by generations. Like you can see the idea of communism, it did not die. Like it has continued for so many years, right? Idea of French Revolution that's been given to us. Even if you're tortured, the idea of democracy, it lives on, it comes back all the time in Arab Spring. So even if it is tortured, even if anything has gone, anything is done, an idea has an ability to live on forever. So this, I explained what the quote meant to me. Now I have to answer what it means to me in the present context. So in the present context, I have given the idea that how certain ideas, there's one more part, um, and certain ideas have come, uh, time has come, and there has been brutal forces against it, but still they are not able to stop it. So the examples of those are, actually I've given it, like Black Lives Matters, the idea has come and there has been a lot of protest on the streets and so on, but in spite of that, this idea of equal value of lives has continued on. Similarly, Arab Spring, even though there has been a lot of protests and hard forced by the government, the people are still fighting for democracy. And feminist movements, climate change, all this, you can see that these are the ideas whose time has come, and people feel it, and no matter how much physical harm it is being done, it still becomes relevant because their time has come right now, right? And in the end, I have given a conclusion with sort of a caution that every idea is idea. Not all ideas are good. Before you attach yourself to any idea, you should be careful that it is not some fundamentalist or some extremist idea. So you can end your ethics answer with a caution also, right? So I hope you guys understood something about how I have approached section A. And now I'll move on to case studies. Case studies I find rather simple, right? And to approach case studies, you should be thorough with your syllabus very well, because whatever case studies is coming, it sort of wants to see your application of the ethics. So all the words that you have read in syllabus, you should be able to use it somewhere and all in the case study, but not just simply. Suppose you have to use a word like accountability, don't just randomly use ethical issue as accountability. So if it is a question regarding how some relating to some police commissioner or something ethical issue, then you write in that case study, this person has to be accountable to the people. So it is an ethical issue, like whether he should be accountable or whether he or she should go and look for their own gain, right? Like that. I'll show you one case study also. I hope that will make it clear and how I structure the case study. I'll give you like 2 minutes to read the case study. I hope everyone can read it properly. So, as you can see here also, I have wait a second. Here also I have underlined everything that I think is important. So you guys can also do this thing. And in case studies, this is not like they will not all the time ask explain this ethical issue or explain this thing. There is very precise things they will ask. Like in this they have asked what will be your approach to dealing with the above situation. So I think I'll give you just 1 minute. You can just read through it, and then I'll explain how I have written it. So I think that so this is a simple case study. You are the police commissioner, and first thing in a case study is are not that important, but you can just write. Since this case study is not asking anything about ethical issues, you can just give a small intro like, okay, this deals with ethical issue of exploitation of laborers and um, not following rule of law. These things, it deals with all these things. And then usually while answering case studies, I always make such a small diagram which shows the stakeholders, the company, the laborer, the police, the government as in the law and constitution and everything. Okay. So when you write this, um, when you write it down, then it becomes easier for you to frame the answer, because when you are answering, you can take care that you are answering with respect to what is going to happen to the company, what is going to happen to the laborers, and how the government is also going to help all these things and do it, and how the police is going to help to do everything, right? And there is a city and the people also here as stakeholders. So in the next paper, what I have done is I have I've not beaten around the bush anymore. I have directly gone to how I am going to approach it, right? So simple. This is case study. It's very simple and mechanical thing you can write. You have any case studies for anything you have to do, you have to gather certain things. You always have to do, you have to be well versed with the information, you have to give an inclusive solution, you have to follow rule of law, constitution, your own conscience. And these are couple of things that you should always keep in mind while answering the case study, right? You have to analyze from all these perspectives, take the stakeholders, your constitutions, your own conscience, your rule of law, and certain words from the syllabus, like is this a question regarding accountability, probity, this is something related to corporate governance, this is something related to human rights, right? Intrinsic rights of human beings. So these kind of things. Now you have these words in your head. Now you approach this case study very simply and you write it, and make sure that these words that you have thought of from the syllabus and from the general words, they come out, so that the answer and the case study becomes, holistic. So here I have written very simply that I'll collect the information, I'll investigate. Then instead of just going mechanically and writing something else, I have written here that if there is two kind of dilemma that I'm facing, there is a dilemma that I'm facing here, is that I have to safeguard the workers because their human rights and basic human rights have been interfered with. But I cannot just simply help the workers, because I have to take care that the future investment of the city is not jeopardized, and it doesn't plunge into worse situation. Because see, I have explained here also that if the arrests are made and the company is taken and it's shut down or something like that happen, and the city gets a poor reputation, the workers will further suffer, because there will be unemployment, hunger, and poverty. So you can see that I am concerned about the human rights, as well as I am concerned about the companies also staying there, which is the actual thing the question wants us to address, right? So then I have written. So my solution should be two things. One is punish the guilty, right? And the second is I have to maintain the good image of the city also. So here I have written, I will arrest the company management. Okay, you don't have to write I will arrest. This sounds a bit too much. So you can just write something like I will take the actions according to the rule of law, and bring the guilty to the take necessary action against the guilty, that is the company, for violating the labor laws, and also the workers, because they were also included in the violent incidents, which is also against the law, right? Here I have not written workers, but you should see that both the parties have done the guilty approach. Okay? So then, okay, the first part of the dilemma is completely solved. So then I have gone to the second part of the dilemma, that okay, I had to still maintain the image of the city. So I have written, and don't you don't have to in the exam worry that police is not in charge of maintaining the image. Maybe in a reality it will be somebody else, the city commissioner or someone else who is supposed to do it. But in the question you can simply write, you can write that with the help of the district or the city municipality, I will try to improve. I will explain how this has benefited, that how we care about the human rights and how we care about the law and order in the city, and further publicize about ease of doing business is good in the city and everything like that, so that the image of the city remains. So anywhere where so this is all short term, what you are going to do immediately. So anywhere where they ask you how you will deal with the situation, you have to answer what the short term approach you are going to take, and then you can also answer the long term for the future, right? Because as a bureaucrat, you are not going to just any action you take is not just for the short term. You should also know the repercussions that are going to take in the future also. So I have written, for future I will do as a police this. You can take the stakeholder approach while writing stakeholder things. You can write as an inspector. As a police, what you'll do, you'll do inspection. So for the laborers, what you'll do, they are able to raise complaints easily, right? And awareness generation for them, advertisement for them, and improve the compliance towards the law. So this way, now you will see that I have answered whatever. No answer is perfect. This is I have somehow tried to approach all this thing, and you can see that it has some personal touch of mine also, because you can see how I thought about the issues here. So rather than becoming a fully mechanical thing, I some a little bit of practicality, whatever I can bring in, I have tried. So that's how I approach case studies. And I think that would be it. Anyone has any question, they can ask me.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Ma'am, how did you prepare your examples for everything?
Examples for everything.
Yes.
Um, so one thing you can do is, as I said, you go to syllabus, right? And each word you will see, and you can Google it. So what I did was I had Googled it, and because sometimes that also you don't know how to do it, you might not get the appropriate example. So what you can do is you can take two, three leaders, right? Like Nelson Mandela or APJ Abdul Kalam, and just uh, Google their things, like how they were, you know, what do you say, their life story, some inspiring experience from lives of these leaders, right? And it doesn't have to be very fancy. You can give simple examples like the Gandhiji and the Chori Chora incidents. That is something all UPSC aspirants knows. So if you use it at the right place, that will make a huge difference. But if you want to find specific example, you can search in the Google, and you can give your personal experience also. Like maybe in empathy, you can see that you empathized with somebody on the street, they some beggar, and help them, or something like that. Also you can write, or so your own examples you can give, you can Google. or you can simply use the examples from history that you study, anything, even the old time kings, Ashoka. See, these are things that you know. The only question is how you use it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And for examples, I actually had a different folder in my Evernote for ethics examples, and I would keep my eyes open and just, write them down. You don't have to read books, autobiographies, and all. Just Google. You'll get a lot of examples. So I don't think anybody has any other doubt. Um, so I think this is it. Ethics is very. It's just about how you will tackle the questions there. Just know the basic stuff you have to know. Read the questions thoroughly because I think that makes a whole difference. Underline the words, that also actually helps. And precise. Look at the questions if they're asking critically analyze. Try to bring in a little more personal touch. You don't have to be completely, bookish or whatever everyone is giving. You can write your own philosophy that you prefer than the others. Maybe you yourself are more of onto the ontology or something like that. Maybe you believe in Kant or you like Gandhian philosophy. So you can write that in answers and give it a personal touch so that your ethics comes forward in the answer sheets. Um, I think this is it. If you guys don't have any questions, I don't know if anyone from iLearn is there. Uh, let me just ask them. If anyone has any more question, you can ask me. Or if you want to see any more of my answer sheets, I can send it to you. Or if you want to show me or explain one more answer to you, I can do that. Okay, so someone wants me to explain one more answer. One second, I'll just share the screen. Okay, okay, I'll share this answer sheet also. Um, one more normal answer to do. Let me just. Okay, okay, this is a very simple. I don't think so. This needs much explanation. When you see some question like this, distinguish between accountability and responsibility, suitable examples. Very simple question. This you must have already prepared. Just answer about accountability. Yeah, I've given a very basic intro. See, intros are not that important. Just two or one lines. Don't waste too much space. The accountability, responsibility, very simple. Just explain accountability. Just give examples. See, you can see from my examples that there are very simple examples about Dhoni, about Lal Bahadur Shastri resigning from the train accident after the train accident. These are things that I guess most of the people know. Just where you are using it, right? See, fundamental rights, district magistrate expresses this is what responsibility means. So this kind of question is very simple. This I already explained. This also explained. Maybe This would be the same way as you answered this question, right? I have tackled in the same way. This is a quote. I count him braver who overcomes his desires than him who overcomes his enemies. For hardest victory is victory over self. So I knew this Gandhiji said it. It's not, see, in the quotes, it's not necessary for you to explain that who said the quote, right? If you know it, you're lucky. If you don't know it, you can just let it be. Okay. So I have see you can see that I've marked in the question itself that I count him braver who can overcome his desires than who can overcome his enemies, right? So I first explained why uh, what this quote from quote what I have understood. So this much I have explained over here. That quote is signifying that it is difficult, overcoming enemies is easier, and why it is so. Okay, I have written why this is why you feel that overcoming yourself is the hardest thing. Okay, so this is very simple. This is another way to answer the quotes question. You can just explain why, what it means and why it means so. So why it is hardest to overcome over yourself, because it's a constant struggle, hard to identify your own mistakes, difficult to recognize your own weaknesses, right? And then the question, see, here you have to again go back and see that here it has asked what it means in the present context. If you just explain this much and give example, you've not answered the crux of the question, that is give with respect to the present context. So you give, I have written over here why it's important in the present context. Okay, I have also skipped it. This is instead I have written here why it is see even here it is written like here we are materialistic, emotional, all these things I have explained, like what are our desires and how we can identify it. This you can take as a bad example of answer writing, because here I have actually not written that why it is important in present context. So this see this is how you will go sidetracked from your examination. This answer that I have written is not hitting the point. Like here I have written in the present context what it means. Here I have completely left over in the present context how it means. So here I should have written that in the present context we are seeing a lot of consumerism, we are seeing a lot of mental health issues. These are the issues that we have to overcome by ourselves. Our materialistic issues, how we are degrading the asset because of that, all those things are our own issues. So here if I add how I have how it is valid in the present context, then only this answer is complete. And here, but my answer, if you read simply like that, you will think that it is, oh, I have written a good answer, but it's not a good answer because it is not you in the scene how not to approach it, right? Now, these are all very simple questions. Discuss the following concepts. When you have discussed the following concepts, you just need to see what foreign policy means for you and just give examples of ethical foreign policy. What is ethical foreign policy, and what is ethical foreign policy, and examples of ethical foreign policy, examples of unethical foreign policy, right? So this covers a whole lot of things. Right. So whenever you see explain anything in ethics, just explain the word or what it means and give few pointers like this, right? Points, you write in points is easier, and just give the examples. That's what you can do. Again, here cognitive dissonance. I have made a small diagram, which is good. Explanation and what is how it occurs I have given, what is cognitive dissonance, how it occurs, how example. And now I don't have much to write in this answer. If written this much, so you can stop, but I think I will write how to overcome it and how to avoid it also, so it becomes a complete answer. And it's a very simple thing how to overcome it. So you see that with every question you can change something. Like here I gave ethical and unethical foreign policy. Here I gave as a conclusion like how I can overcome the cognitive dissonance. So in every question there is an element of innovation that you can apply, right? Otherwise I would have to just stop here after explaining it and after giving examples, I could have simply stopped, but instead I have seen something in cognitive dissonance, how to avoid it, and I have given that. Right. Uh, See here also, I can't see the question. Here also is the thing, a quote is given, and after reading every quote, you should always see that what exactly and precisely is the question being asking. I think it's asking with respect to civil service. So tackle that part. This is again simple question. I think after this I can just share you the paper, and you can do these kind of things, these kind of small diagrams, so that your paper is not exactly monotonous. There is some variety, and it's very simple thing to do because you are not adding, you don't have to study a lot. Whatever you have studied, you just have to present it in the square manner. See, small diagrams. This is, as you can see, this is nothing very, you have to study a lot for this. This is just a simple diagram I have drawn to explain contentment. So simple things. Most of the things you will already know. The only thing is how you apply it in your answer, right? If there is anything more you guys want me to do, you can just ask. I can send the answer sheet. One more case study also. Okay, wait a second. Where it? This is again something related to police. Will take something. You can read this case study, then I'll explain. See, here I have, I hope everybody read it. So, once you read it, it is a simple case study. And here also you take care that what exactly the question is asked. There are lots of words in it: IT professional, working in reputed MNC, blah blah blah. But the most important thing in the question here is, as a member of NGO, how will you support the education of the tribal student? So when you see such questions, you keep in mind the real world you are living in. You are just a member of NGO. You have limited, you have limited capacity to bring about a lot of changes. You can't just go around building schools and giving people free stuff and all, even though you had a high paying job. See, here it's written you had a high paying job, so you have some money, so you don't have a lot of money as to do whatever you want, right? And keep that in at the back of your mind. Some money you have, right? And then you see that there are two things here, that is, uh, there are a couple of things more. These are tribal children. There is no electricity, right? Infrastructure is bad. It's a remote village. So remote village means what? Transportation will not be there, right? Tribal children is what, you can think they'll have lack of nutrition issues, things like that, right? And the best part is they have enthusiasm and interest, so you have full support of the children, right, to learn new things, right? So, and the problem here is infrastructure is not here, and you are somebody from an NGO, so you have some backing from the NGO, you have some money of yourself. These are tribal children without adequate facility in a remote area. Now you have to think like how you will solve the question, right? So here also intro, since it is something related to education, So you can think the most important source of ethics is your human rights, right? Basic human right is not most important. Like one of the things that you can write as source of this thing, right? Is human right is it? It is basic human right. It's there in our constitution, right? There is a law regarding this. All these laws you can remember, right? For Right to Education Act or Juvenile Justice Act, things like that, because you can write it in the case study. So, right, this has happened, so this should not be done. Maybe some discrimination question is there, so you can write prevention of atrocities act is there against SCSTs. So such things, untouchability is prohibited, right? So when you write that constitution thing, you can see that that why it is wrong in the context of our nation and why it's wrong with respect to humanity itself, right? So I have first said why I think education is important for me, and then I have again written the stakeholders, because once I write the stakeholders, right? So now I know what kind of solutions I can think of. The students is there, right? The villagers are also there. They can also help. The students can help. The NGO can help. I can help, and the government can help, right? And even you can even add your previous MNCs, because if you see there is the Company Act says for this thing, what corporate social responsibility. That's another stakeholder you can add here. Huh. So once you have the stakeholders, now it's very easy for you to write that what you are going to do. Just take each of the stakeholders and imagine what you will do to support the education. I will do the following to support my education, so their education it should be. See, this kind of mistakes can come. It's okay. Yeah, it's better if it doesn't come, but it happens. So I will mentally take a pledge. So I am first starting with myself, that what I will mentally prepare myself, because this is a very arduous task for which I have to, stick to it. Because many times you yourself are starting some task and you cannot complete it. So first thing is you should stick to whatever task you are sharing. So I have written it over here. Clearly what is going through my mind, I have written and adhere to it and do the best for the children. So I have taken care of myself. Then I will start teaching them immediately itself with available materials and amenities. Like immediate action I have written. Immediately what I am going to do. Then next, I am thinking about government schemes to bring educate facilities. So once you write such answers, you cannot simply write that I will go to government schemes and facilities. There are a lot of government schemes we all know, and I'll apply all of that, and school will become chakachak. That is not how you approach, because if we have to consider all the possibilities, and we know that if the government scheme was completely working in that place, then why is the school not having educate facility? Oh, 1 second, my laptop has lost charge. I'll just switch it on. Okay. Yeah, wait a second. Yeah. Okay, I'll just share it again. Okay. Okay. So first thing I have written, I'm leveraging the government schemes, right? So next I have written some of the schemes that will do Saubhagya Yojana for electricity. So not very sure. I think it goes for households, but you can write it because at that point I'm not very sure if it is to be used. Swachh Bharat for toilets, Operation Blackboard for smart classes, these kind of things. You can write it there. Okay. And I have written it exactly over here that government will take time, right? And and uh, and immediately the facilities will not be right. So immediately such facilities will not be available. So I have written right here. I have written what I think that it's not be available. So I will inquire in the pace. If it is unsatisfactory and insufficient, then I will do crowdfunding through social media websites. See, these are the things you say in your everyday life, like keto websites and all. You are seeing crowdfunding is happening. I've just written that down. Talk to parents so that their children are retained in the school. Again, stakeholders, parents you have to approach. After the government, the parents I have thought about. See, then I and I have the parents. You have to see what kind of parents you are dealing with. These are tribal parents, so you can't expect them to pour in money, but you can always think of their labor as a contribution, right? Their willpower and their labor that you can get from the tribals, and uh, then I have gone for the NGO, right? Then I have even thought, even if this is then working, then what can I do? Since I'm so invested, see, I made a pledge to myself in the beginning of the answer. So I have written, if this is also not satisfactory, I have worked in a high paying job. It's given in the question. I'm not making this up. Right. So I have some saving and some part of my own money I'll keep to help the children. See, this is also a very realistic thing I have written. I have not written here that I will take all my savings and give it all away. Okay, because that seems okay. You might be planning to do that, but in a realistic term, you have to have some money to live off also. So, see, and I have simply ended it with a quote from Kofi Annan. This is something you can do in case studies, right? I will stick to my pledge and do as a duty as a citizen of this country. Right. Education is a bridge from misery to hope by Coffee Annan. Uh, and the best way for me to use my education will be to keep my students achieve their dreams or let them come out of their misery. So you can see that I have used all the stakeholders. I've dealt with the students, I've dealt with the villagers, the NGOs, I've dealt with the government, I've even dealt with my own self, my own savings. And there is one more stakeholder I said which I have not used, and that is the MNC, which I could have added here, saying that under Companies Act there is corporate social responsibility. So I can ask my MNC to donate. If okay, so now I'm not sure if MNCs are supposed to donate, but this is not a polity paper. This is an ethics paper, so you can take certain risks like that. So it will be okay. It just shows that you have thought this much about the question, right? So I think that shows you how to approach the case studies. It's just whatever you have studied, just application of this. And keep in mind, you live in the real world. Do not write fancy I will do this, I will do that. Keep your restraints and your constraints in your mind, that these are the constraints that you are having, and address those constraints and accept those constraints with humility. And you'll stick to your conscience, you'll stick to the constitution, stick to the morality. That is what ethics is all about. Identifying your challenges, finding solutions with the stakeholders, and in spite of facing so much of issues, keeping up with the your ethical and your morality. So I think I've shown you one more case study and explained some of the answers. The group, I will tell them to send this in the group. And any more thing you need, you can just say. Right. If you need any more thing, you can just ask me. By possible approaches, if you mean what are yeah, these kind of questions. Okay, let me see if I have one of the in my answer sheet, or I will. I will tell you how I usually approach it. Uh, okay, so in this, I cannot actually see what is the possible. So I'll say what I usually do. Mm, is that um, so most of the case studies that come, like write all your possible case possible approaches, there'll be at least three to four that you can write, okay, not more than that. So what you can do is there'll be one very good thing that you can do, right? Very good. And there'll be one very bad thing that you shouldn't do at all. Like there'll be like you are, suppose it's about you're a district collector, and there is some, what, you want to build a road, and you are facing opposition from this very huge landlord that you should take that road through his area, so that the land prices of it is increases. And the second or you can go with the actual profitable, good, socially good alignment of the road. So in this case, you know that there is one very good example that uh, that you can actually take, is that you complete, okay, this is quite black and white question. um, okay, we will take, instead of the landlord's house, we will take a forest there. So it is a bit more complicated. So either you can take it to the forest, and the road will be very smooth and very good running, and that is what the politicians are also pressuring you to do. Or and there will be a lot of displacement of tribals if you take to the through the road to the forest. Or you can take the road in a longer route, which will actually cost the government more money, right? So in this case, there are two very simple options that you have. One is the option where you take the long road. Okay. Now, after you write the long road, that is the best answer, best ethically best thing to do. And so you will write that, okay, this is the best alignment because forest environmental ethics is good. It's good for the tribals. Then just, you don't have to write a lot of things in demerit and merit. Just write in merit this much in a small paragraph, 3 4 lines to explain the merit. Then you write the demerit, that it is not good because from the government treasury so much money will go. And you also write the bane that is going to come to you, that is you will face the fighting of you and the company and everyone, right? Your own position might be in trouble because of doing that, right? So again, you have faced said it realistically, you're not avoiding it. Then the other thing is the extreme opposite of this, that you can simply do as the politicians are saying, and take the road through the forest. So you can say that this will be bad because it will affect the tribal, the habitat of the animals, and it's wrong. But it's very profitable for you and the politicians. Maybe in future they'll favor you, right? And then you can think of some middle ways, like you will work with the engineers and think of a better alignment that that is both saves the political saves the money from the government treasury, and it also helps um, it saves the money from the government treasury, and also doesn't cause the bosses to hate you. Okay, you can give a media example like this. And again write the merits and demerits. Merits will be this will satisfy all the parties. Demerits will be this might be more work for you, more work for everybody, things like that. And always when you're writing this question, and as a bureaucrat also, you should take the most ethical approach, uh, which will be you should not care about yourself too much, right? If this is a question that is affecting your family also, you can give it a consideration while writing the conclusion, that my family will be affected. But at the end of the day, all such questions, you should place the welfare of the people, the constitution, the rule of law above your own self, your own gains, right? So while writing the conclusion, always ensure that you put the welfare of the country, welfare of the citizens, and the constitution above your own self. institution above yourself. Even if you're getting transferred, even if you're being removed from the job, remember to keep these things above, because ethically you should do the right things, right? But while analyzing, you should analyze even the worst possibility. So I think that
Yeah, Veena.
would be it.
Yeah,
Yes,
Veena,
sir.
Nikhil here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Uh, I think any more questions? You're taking questions, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. So, any more questions? Anyone? Any more questions? Okay. So, I guess, Veena, I think we can wind up the session then,
Okay, sir.
right? Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I think the session would have benefited all the students who are actually writing mains this year. Thank you for your time. Looking for such sessions in the future as well. Thank you, Veena.
Thank you, sir. All the best, everyone. I hope this was beneficial for you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, iLearn. All the best, everybody. Thanks for listening to me. Thank you.